Hello everyone, this is part 32 of What If Naruto was exiled after he brought Sasuke back, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. 16 years have passed since the Kyuubi no Kitsune had attacked Konoha. Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze sighed as she woke with the sun overhead. It took her sleep-addled mind to realize that today was the day she lost her husband, and her sons had been born. 16, Kushina thought, and then sat upright as if hit by a bucket of ice-cold water. She rushed down the hall where her son's rooms were and threw open the door to Naruto's room and saw him gone. She checked Mika's room and sighed, seeing both boys curled up on the bed. She went closer and saw that both looked restless. It was then that she noticed it. At least it's not tails and ears, she muttered, sitting on the edge of the bed, her eyes looking over her boys for any further changes. Hearing footsteps, she turned to see Tsunade and Rin entering. The slug Sanon's eyes took in the boys' appearances with a glance. Rin spoke. "Oh, thank Kami." Kushina agreed as her hand clenched in her lap. XX. Cut it, Naruto said. The change had been that their hair grew down to their ankles and became even brighter. Naruto's whisker marks returned, not that he cared, but when his mother touched them, he realized they were sensitive. Mika looked in the mirror and grinned. "I like it," he said, his gold eyes shining in mirth, were a richer gold. Mika now also sported very faint whisker marks as well, they were nearly transparent. Both boys mentioned that their sense of smell, hearing and sight became sharper after midnight. The boy's new appearance made Rin think of her sister and her clan. "The hair's not the problem," Kushina assured her son. "But what are we going to do with them?" All eyes in the room looked at the two fox cubs that had been in bed with the boys. "Train them like they would if they were Inuzuka dogs," Tsunade suggested. She smiled as Mika spun about with his longer hair. "Mom, can I keep the hair?" "But," Kushina looked at her red-haired son. "It will be difficult when you're a ninja," she said. "What about a really long braid?" he asked. "Mika-kun," Tsunade said to her godson. "Do you know how hard it is to clean and maintain long hair?" "No, but I like it," he said. Naruto shook his head at his twin. "Shoulder length for me. It throws off my balance." Jiraiya, who had arrived for breakfast, looked on. "I'd say as long as mine, kiddo, that way you can use the jutsus I taught you." He looked at Mika. "You too." Mika had spent time with Jiraiya over the years, learning a few jutsus at his godmother's request. "Well, we'll cut your hair, Naruto dear," Kushina said. Rin spoke up with a grin. "Then you both get to learn some Inuzuka SKS from me. We'll go see Chum tomorrow and ask for help." Today was the twins' 16th birthday and working was not allowed in the household by order of Kushina. Mika smirked as Tsunade showed him how to braid his hair and maintain it. "Girls are going to be jealous, you know." Mika smirked. Naruto shook his head. "Sakura's going to go mental," he said, poking at his twin. "Perhaps. But wait till Hinata sees the pictures Mom took this morning." Mika fired back and blue eyes widened as the whisker-marked blonde turned to look. Kushina smiled. "What? You both were so cute asleep with those kits," she said. The two foxes had been sedate as if they understood everything. "So," Rin began while the twins were in thought. "What are you going to name them?" Both boys shared a look, neither had a clue. XX. Hinata arrived after 9, while Naruto was getting his haircut. Mika smirked as she looked at him and his new hair. "Happy birthday," she said, handing him his gift and card. "Thanks. Bro's getting his cut. His whiskers are back," he said before continuing on towards the kitchen. She'd spotted his own marks. Hinata followed and stopped, her pale eyes widening at the amount of hair her boyfriend had. "Hey Haim," Naruto said as his mother was trimming his hair. The long mound on the table said Kushina had been at this for a while. "Morning, Naruto-kun. Happy birthday," Hinata said, and with a glance at Kushina, who smiled, leaned in and kissed him quickly on the lips. She put his gift and card on the table. "Or, come back here." Naruto pouted. "Sit still," his mother said. "Morning, Hinata," she said. "How is your mother?" Kushina asked. She's pregnant, Hinata said. Really? Kushina said with a smile. Hanabi isn't happy. She thought that she was the last. Hinata said, watching as her boyfriend had his hair cut down and styled. It has been a while, Kushina admitted. Hinata smiled. I guess that vacation they went on was more productive than we all thought. She finished with a giggle. So, hoping for a little brother? Naruto asked, closing his eyes as his mother trimmed his bangs. I don't care if it's a boy or a girl. I'm just happy for my parents, Hinata said. Micah snorted. Firecracker's going to be miserable as the middle child. Micah had taken to calling Hanabi that the first time the little girl erupted at him when she was younger and they'd allowed her to play with them. Have you eaten yet, Hinata? Kushina asked. Yes, ma'am, she said. So what are you all going to do today until the party? Rin asked, sitting with Micah and Tsunade. Just hang around, the twins said, and Hinata shook her head at how often they spoke at the same time. Are we going to the festival? Hinata asked. We can look, Micah said, sharing a look with Naruto. Rin smiled. Obito and I will be there. She said, mostly for Kushina to let her know the boys would be watched over so none of the villagers got any funny ideas. The two had been dating off and on for some time now. Obito was living with Kakashi, they split the cost of a large apartment, and Kakashi wasn't home as he was leading Anbu teams on away missions. Hinata looked at Micah. Sakura's gonna be jealous your hair is longer than hers, she told the redhead. Not my fault, he said. Tsunade pulled one of the shorter braids on the side. Makes nice handles, she said. Quit it, Bar-chan, or I'll pull your pigtails, he said. Tsunade stopped protesting about that name, she knew it was pointless. Just be glad classes are cancelled for the weak brat. Tsunade's medical class had grown over the years. Micah was in the group that would graduate this year, along with the others. Hinata smiled at the interplay between them. Done, Kushina said and stepped back. She looked at her son and realized how much like his father he looked like. Kami, take away the whiskers and it's Minato. She felt tears in her eyes and was engulfed in a tight hug. She realized it was both her boys. It's okay, Ka-san, Naruto said. We miss him too, Micah said. Kushina had spoken to the boys often about their father, making sure they knew all about him, the good and the bad. Jiraiya too spoke, but usually only the good things, or the bone-headed things Minato did while he was a genin. Today was always hard on the Namikazes. Between the twins' birth, the sealing of the Kyuubi and the death of Minato, it was always emotional. Kushina squeezed them and kissed their foreheads, realizing that they were as tall as she was now. You two stop growing, she said, releasing them. Both chuckled and shared looks. Now, get out of here, and be back by 5. She said. Naruto cheered and took Hinata's hand and dragged her from the room. Micah kissed Tsunade and Rin's foreheads before following, his tail braid of hair flopping about wildly. They grow up too fast, Kushina said. She looked at the mound of hair she'd taken from Naruto, and an idea came to her mind as she picked up several strands and began to weave them together. Tsunade and Rin watching her as she hummed. XX. Months passed quickly and spring was soon approaching. The graduating class was looking forward to being ninja. Micah, Naruto, Hinata and Sakura held the top spots in class. Iruka and Rin continued to teach, both getting their points across and keeping the students interested in and out of the classroom. The time since the twins' birthday had been a trial as the villagers again went to their stupid place and tried attacking the boys and their new familiars. 15 people were executed and things calmed down a bit. As predicted, Sakura went mental seeing Micah's ankle-length hair. Of course that didn't distract her long from the new whisker marks on his cheeks, and Naruto and Hinata laughed as the pink-haired girl turned the redhead into a pile of goo as she petted and stroked his cheeks. Hinata had intervened and after a long talk, Sakura returned, a large blush on her cheeks. Another glitch happened before the end of the year when a Chunin named Mizuki tried to frame Naruto and Micah for the theft of the Forbidden Scroll. Sadly, his beating by the boys left him alive, but unable to walk as they showed him that they both had learned the Kage Bunshin when they were younger. Another development that the boys learned of: they both possessed the elements of wind and fire, as evident one night they were messing around with Obito doing a prank and Naruto, who had been sporting a cold, sneezed. The flames reached 12 feet. Jiraiya and Tsunade had taken the boys on a week-long training trip to get their elemental manipulation under control. The villagers, again showed that stupid people seemed to breed in large groups as they again tried to attack the boys, this time at school after they returned from their training trip with their Sanin godparents. Obito, Rin and Hisashi had not been happy and 30 people were executed that day, among them was a wheelchair-bound Mizuki who had started the near riot. XX. Kushina stood with the other parents waiting. She'd been nervous all morning worrying about the Genin exam. So much so that she had nearly snapped during a council meeting. Next to her Hisashi was smirking. I'm sure they passed, he said. She grunted in response. Chuma Inuzuka was next to her and laughed. Kushina, they've been at the top of the class the last couple of years. Kiba says that Rin and Iruka have to keep on their toes to keep them with the class. Kushina knew that was true. When her sons got bored, they started pulling pranks. Case in point, she looked at the Hokage monument that yesterday had been painted in bright colors. It had taken Kakashi, Iruka and Obito 6 hours to catch the boys, and that was only because they were hungry and stopped at Ichiraku's to have some ramen. Maybe now they'll settle down. Inoiki Yamanaka said. He knew both Ino and Sakura would pass, he had planned on going to the bar with Shikaku and Choza, but the wives had made all three go to the academy to greet their children. If Shikamaru tried he'd be top of the class. Hisashi said. They all knew the young man had his father's lazy attitude. Listen to us, a bunch of ol' hens. Kushina said. A snort drew her attention to Tsunade. Well, the Senju clan head smirked. I'm not telling. Just know that Micah is the top medic I've trained. The other parents smirked as Kushina shot the blonde a glare. Don't you have rounds in the hospital? Nah. Came to see my godson. Gave my hours to Shizune. Tsunade said with a grin. Kushina shook her head. You need to stop taking advantage of her. She's my apprentice. Tsunade said mock pouting. Here they come. Hisashi said. The doors opened and students poured out. Some had sad looks, others grinning like Loon's sporting brand new high-tie 8s. Hinata was hugged by Hisashi when she showed him hers. Ino and Sakura were congratulated by Inoiki. Chum practically howled as Kiba showed her his headband. The other parents congratulated or consoled their children. Kushina felt her gut clench as Naruto and Micah were the last ones out of the building. They were shuffling their feet, their heads bowed. Kushina and Tsunade exchanged looks at this. Taking several steps forward, Kushina saw neither boy was wearing a high-tie 8. It got quiet behind her, but Kushina didn't care, her attention was on her sons. They looked up when they reached her. She saw the spark of mischief and both boys grinned as they pulled out their high-tie 8s. Oh. Kushina growled, pulling them both into a hug. Don't scare me like that. She growled as she held onto her sons, new genin of Konohagakure. Both held onto Kushina as she cried into their shoulders and whispered, I'm so proud of you both. Your dad would be yelling from the top of the monument. Just like he did the day you were born. The party at the Namika's compound was loud as several families celebrated together. So teams? Kushina asked. Not sure. Oji-san and Iruka-sensei haven't announced them. We're supposed to be back tomorrow to be sorted. Mikahamaru said as he sat next to Sakura and sipped his drink. I don't think we'll be together as Micah. Sakura and Hinata-chan all have medic training and Oji-san is always going on about balancing the teams properly. Naruto said around a mouthful of food. Tsunade snorted. He still tries to lie through that excuse. At her looks she sighed. It used to be the rookie of the year paired with the S last. Usually one kunoichi per team. Micah put his cup and plate down. But, that isn't right. I mean, I bet Sakura, Hinata and Ino would make a very effective team, more than say the old Ino-Shikacho combination, as I'm sure that most ninja are now prepared for that trio and if he forms them up like that, they'll get the floor wiped. Interesting thought. They all turned to see the Hokage. Sorry I'm late Kushina. And congratulations all of you graduating to Genin. The new Genin bowed and blushed at getting praise from the Hokage. Can I get you something? Kushina asked. He waved her off. I can fend for myself Kushina. Sit. Enjoy the party and your time with the children. Micah looked at the man that he and Naruto thought of as grandfather. So, Oji-san, any clues about teams? Hiruzen chuckled. I'm afraid not my boy. Iruka is still organizing his recommendations. But with Tsunade's medic program a success, I do believe I need to think about how squads are formed and possibly reform some from last year as well. XX. Next morning. Tsunade entered the kitchen to find the twins a whirlwind of activity. Naruto and Micah were making breakfast, and using chakra to do it as they moved around one another flipping food, plates and utensils. Micah was at the stove. Order up. He flipped several pancakes into the air and Tsunade watched as Naruto spun, a plate in each hand and caught them. The larger plates were put on the table and Tsunade looked at the size of the pancakes. I feel my thighs growing just looking at them. Tsunade thought as she watched Naruto getting the toast as Micah loaded up a mound of bacon that would please 2 akamikis. How are the eggs? Tsunade watched as Naruto spun to check on the oven omelet peering in. Another minute, he said. He turned and saw Tsunade. Oh, hey Bar-chan. Morning, she said. Micah smiled at his godmother and poured her a cup of tea and handed it to her. Have a seat, breakfast will be done soon. She took her seat. Where's your mother? She asked. Got summoned to see Oji-san. Naruto said. Shizune-chan headed in for her shift at the hospital and Rin-ne-san went home with Uncle O. Micah finished as he put the last of the bacon on its platter and put it on the table. So, all of this is, well, we figured a big breakfast would be nice, and besides, both boys paused and grinned. Leftovers rock. Tsunade laughed, forced to agree with them about that. She hated cooking and it was one of the reasons Kushina had been able to talk her into moving in all those years ago. Micah smacked at her hand as she stole some bacon. Bar-chan. Oh, pipe down, there's enough to feed several akamikis, the slug Sanan said. True. Micah spun around Naruto who put down milk and juice along with the toast. Jam. He said snapping his fingers and leapt over Micah and the open oven to get to the fridge. Micah smirked as he used chakra to hold the hot pan and get it to the mats on the table. Tsunade smirked. I see your mother's lessons in the kitchen didn't go to waste. Are you kidding? When you and Shizune went to Waterfall Village, she had us cooking up a storm, and we were denied ramen until we got it right. Naruto said as he put the various flavors of jam down. What else? Micah asked looking at the table. Syrup. Both boys said and both went to the cabinet, but stopped with grins. Micah got it while Naruto sat and started cutting the oven omelet. What's in there? Tsunade asked, remembering Shizune liked to add many things to her omelets. Ham and cheese. Micah said. You want anything else? Tsunade shook her head and took a bunch of the omelet and added some bacon. Some pancakes. Naruto asked. I want to be able to work today, boys, not be in a food coma till it's digested. She said. They laughed. So, any teammates you don't want? She asked. Both shrugged. She knew they wanted to be on a team together along with the girlfriends, but that wasn't going to happen. All 4 were near the top of the class, and to heap them on one team would be unfair to the other teams who would then be underpowered. They ate talking about random things, Tsunade enjoying the quiet time she got with them, and over the years she understood how Kushina would refuse tasks outside the village so that she could spend time with her sons. As the head of the family and a council member, she stood in the way of a lot of opposition for her sons as well as for the Hokage. The boys started to clean up. Leave it. I'll do the dishes. You both get to the academy. Both rushed out, pausing long enough to kiss her on the cheek and wish her a nice day. Tsunade smiled. You were right, sensei, it is the simple things in life that are truly the best. She looked at the mound of dishes and frowned. Did they have to use so many? Tsunade sighed and added it up and sighed. Screw it. This looks like a D rank mission. She sent a messenger slug to the Hokage, smiling at the genin team that would have to scrub out all the dishes. And yet some things in life are worth the cost of a D rank mission. She muttered, going to finish getting dressed and meet the genin that would be taking the job. XX. Academy. Aruka Yumino stood before the class and smirked as Rin entered late, a slight blush on her cheeks. Her face turned to a scowl when she heard a certain pair making innuendos about where she stayed. Stow it, she hissed, and Naruto and Micah laughed. She heard Sakura's snicker and even a giggle from Hinata. Siblings, she cursed. Now, as I was saying before, Rin-san disrupted us. Aruka said, giving her a grin as well. The Hokage has decided that with the success of the medic program, that the teams need to be reworked. It is with this in mind that the following teams will be trial or test runs. Instead of the usual 3 genin teams, there will be 4 genin partnered with a jonin and a chunin instructor. He looked up at the muttering of the genin. Now, he said. Shino Aburame, you will join the pre-existing Team 9. Their weapons mistress has passed the Med-Nin program and you will fill the last slot on the team. Your sensei is waiting for you at the Hokage's office. Shino stood and the slight hum filled the air as he left. Aruka looked at the scroll and continued. Team 1 will be. Aruka droned on with teams 1 through 6 and they left the room with various jonin. Now, I want to congratulate the rest of you, and to prolong your questions, I'm going to do this out of order. Aruka said with a grin to Naruto, letting the blonde know this was payback for the itching powder in the early part of the week. Naruto's head slammed onto the desk with a loud thud. Hinata rubbed his back in consolation. Mika snickered and listened to Sakura as she was going over several medical jutsu she'd memorized. Team 8 will be Ino Yamanaka as the team's medic, and your teammates will be Kiba Inuzuka. A bark and he smiled, along with Akamaru. You will also be teamed with Choji Akamaiki and Shikamaru Nara. A muttered troublesome was heard from the near comatose Nara, and the crunch of chips from Choji alerted all that he wasn't upset by his team. Aruka smirked. Team 7. Naruto looked around and saw who was left and grinned. Yes. Aruka smirked. As I was saying, Team 7 is Hinata Hyuga, Mikahamaru Uzumaki, Naruto Uzumaki and Sakura Haruno. Rin blinked at that. Wait, 3 medics on 1 team. Aruka nodded, that's what it says here. And considering all the other teams have medic nin, I'm not sure what plans the Hokage has for these last 2 teams. He didn't list their senseis here either. Aruka continued. Rin blinked at that. What the hell, all the other teams were listed with the Jonin and Chunin instructors. XX. I don't think so, Obito said. The room was filled with the last few Jonin and Chunin and they was heavy discussion over who was going to be getting the last 2 teams. I do, Kakashi said with a grin. I am better equipped too. Bull's broom head, Obito said, ignoring the Hokage and glaring at his best friend. You've been on Anbu until 6 weeks ago. You think you can waltz in here and take a team? I've busted my ass to get here. And yet you still can barely find a decent pair of pants to wear. Kakashi said, making light of the bright colors that Obito wore. Yeah, well, I at least have taste. You call that I saw taste? Kushina, Tsunade, Asuma, Kurenai and the Hokage watched as the 2 friends fired back and forth. Tsunade shook her head as the 2 traded barbs and insults that would suggest they were far from friends. Enough. The pair stopped in mid-word. As the slug Sanin stepped between them, a tick forming on her brow. She waited a moment, then looked at the Hokage. My lord, she said in a very formal tone, which not only caught the attention of her former sensei, but of everyone in the room that knew her. Yes, Tsunade, the Hokage said, sitting back with his pipe, the smoke curling up towards the ceiling. He had a grin forming like he knew what was about to happen. I, Tsunade Senju, one of the legendary Sanin, hereby formally request the Genin team, Cell 7 comprised of Sakura Haruno, Mikahamaru Uzumaki Namikaze, Hinata Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze to be placed under my command. Obito looked shocked and Kakashi sighed. Kushina smirked at this, while the others looked shocked. The Hokage smiled outright. Are you certain this is what you want? He asked. Tsunade sighed. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have spoken up. A Jonin, Anko at the back of the room, laughed at the tone that the woman used with the Hokage. Very well, Tsunade, you have your team. The Hokage said. My lord, Lord Hokage. Kakashi and Obito's shouts were ignored. And who will you choose as your second? Tsunade looked thoughtful for several moments. Let me. All eyes turned to see Anko leaning against the wall. What? Obito and Kakashi said. It's not like I have a lot to do in the interrogation department, and I would like a chance to prove I am trustworthy. Kushina nodded at this. She liked Anko. The younger woman had a raw deal at the hands of the council ever since Orochimaru turned. She had trusted her when the twins were growing up to act as the guard when the others were indisposed, and she'd often spent time talking with her outside of village duties. Tsunade thought about it. She could help Sakura. At the looks the others gave her, Tsunade explained. She's a sked medic, but her ninja training is basic academy. She might excel at bookwork and controlled condition combat, but I know she won't do well once in the field. Anko might be able to help her there. And I have a few thoughts on what to teach her and Hinata. Across the room, Kurenai looked down. She'd been hoping to get in and help Hinata as she'd been her guard when she was younger. I'd like to help Team 8. Kurenai said, I don't want to be in charge, but Ino can learn to be a genjutsu user along with her family's bloodline. It could help with the Nara and Akamaiki as well since some of their attacks need the target to be stationed. A genjutsu might aid them. The Hokage wrote it down. Who would like to help Kurenai with Team 8? Kushina spoke up. I would like to recommend Rin Uzumaki. She said, she can help integrate Kiba into the team as well as continue her medic nin duties. The Hokage thought about it and nodded, while Obito and Kakashi actually pouted. Very well. The senseis for Team 7 will be Tsunade and Anko and Team 8 will have Kurenai and Rin. He stroked his beard. Asuma will join Guy to aid in Team 9's training. Asuma winced and Kakashi laughed. Good luck with that. Obito snickered as he thought of what Asuma would go through with the energetic Guy Mato. If that is all, dismissed. The Hokage said and waited until the room cleared. He sat back and sighed. What do you think? He asked. Jiraiya stepped from the window where he'd been hiding. Tsunade's team is going to be the strongest, followed by teams 8 and 9. The Toad Sage said, and with the training I've given Naruto, I doubt that they will be genin for long. He sighed. Mikahamaru with the training he got from Tsunade could take a jonin right now. The Hokage sighed. What have you two been doing with those boys? Jiraiya smirked. Spoiling our godchildren. The Hokage sighed. Keep an eye on things. It seems Orochi's spy was caught trying to get into the records room. Ibiki has him under surveillance. He's pretending to be a genin that has failed the Chunin exam 6 times prior. Jiraiya sighed. Anything else? Take Kakashi and Obito with you. I'm sure those two with free time might inspire a prank war with the twins and I want Konoha in one piece. Jiraiya laughed. I don't know. That prank war they had when the boys were 12. The entire village was painted in silver, orange and bright red and yellow paint. The Hokage said as he recalled the war that they used paint as markers to who did what. I will not allow them to do so again, and with Obito and Kakashi between missions. Jiraiya smirked. Fine, I'll take the big boys out to play. He said. Keep the place running, old man. Jiraiya said before leaping out the window. The Hokage sighed and wondered what Tsunade would do with her team, and he was actually anxious to read what they do. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.